How everybody's doing today? Today I'm going to talk to you about why you should never talk to cops. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, do, will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to have an attorney present. If you can't afford one, one will be appointed to you free of charge. Do you understand these rights? Many of you think you do, but most of you think it only applies to being a criminal. You're wrong. It applies each and every time you come in contact with law enforcement. The right to remain silent and the right to have an attorney are your most important two. Right to remain silent and have an attorney present are your most important ones you have. Today I'm going to encourage you to exercise these rights when you come in contact with law enforcement, regardless of the situation. I had a good friend who didn't exercise these rights, and what he said was used against him in the court of law, and he got convicted. I'll explain why I will never talk to cops and why it is important to exercise these rights. But first, a quick listening lesson. I'm going to read you an article. I want you to pay close attention. I'm going to quiz you at the end of my speech. Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department found 3 dead in the East Los Angeles apartment complex last night. The apparent victims of a gangland-style slaying. Possible victims of a local gang, no suspects have yet been named. However, veteran sheriff's detective Kenny McElroy said the 3 were killed by the same person or following up a lead pointing to the possible involvement of a local gang member. The 3 were found by the apartment manager at approximately 8 this morning and are believed to have been killed between midnight and 2 a.m. That's all I will ask you to remember. I respect law enforcement, but I will never, under any circumstance, talk to cops. Why? There's no law that says I have to. It is not a crime to refuse to talk to them. Even if you're stopped for detaining, you do not have to talk to them. You don't have to answer their questions. In fact, the Supreme Court, sorry, I forgot to put my thing here. In fact, the Supreme Court tells you not to. That's why you have the right to remain silent and the right to have an attorney present. If you're walking and they approach you, there is no law that states you must stop to talk to them. If you have to talk to them, ask them if they're detaining you. If they say yes, tell them you're going to state your rights to remain silent and you don't want to talk to them. They have to have more than a reason to detain you because you look suspicious, or the time of night, or the neighborhood you're in. They just can't stop to talk to you. Your rights are your responsibility. You need to make sure they're not violated. You can't say your rights were violated if you stop to talk to them. You are allowed to do so. Cops are allowed to lie. They are trained to trick you into talking and allowing them to violate your rights. The Supreme Court says they can do this. This is how they build their cases. They know you don't know. You have the right not to talk to them or to stop talking at any time. And they take advantage of this. They may ignore you at first, continue to talk, threaten you with arrest. Don't believe them, and don't waive your rights. They won't ask you if they mind to search the vehicle if they need your consent, which is why the Supreme Court states you specifically inform them you're exercising your right to remain silent, the right to consent, and the right to search, and the right to have an attorney present. Make sure you state it firmly and loudly. When you ask for an attorney to be present, they must stop talking to you. You are not refusing to be detained, and they must not refusing to be arrested. You're just exercising your right to remain silent, and race doesn't matter. Why these rights? Why these rights are so important to exercise. Knowledge is power. If you don't know your rights, you don't have any. The right to remain silent and the right to have an attorney present are the most important rights you have. They are important because it is human nature. It is human nature to want to talk, to want to cooperate, and it's the right thing to do, but it will never help you. Even if you are 100% innocent and have nothing to hide, the cops will always find something incriminating they can hold against you. You will always have something that could possibly hang you. You always say something that could possibly hang you. Of the many cases which have been exonerated of false convictions, DNA is only responsible for 26%. The remaining 74%, falsely confused, took a plea bargain, or were convicted because of something they said. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, has on their website things to help you if you come in contact with the law in different situations. It includes who to contact if your rights are violated. So we've talked about, give you guys a quick listening test, why I will never under any circumstance talk to cops, and why these rights are so important to exercise. Remember, I said I was going to quiz you. I warned you I was going to ask you a question. How many people were found shot to death in the East Los Angeles apartment complex last night in the article I read to you? Raise your hand if you believe it was 1. Raise your hand if you believe it was 2. Raise your hand if you believe it was 3. Keep your hands up. Look around the room and see how many of you said 3. It only took one question and you all could be convicted for this crime. How did you know they were shot? I only mentioned it would appear to be a gangland style slaying. They could have been stabbed, suffocated, or strangled, but you knew they were shot. Only the killer himself would know that. That's why you should always exercise your right to remain silent and never talk to cops. Thank you for your time.